You guys, welcome to my channel. Of course, I'm going to say nothing but the truth. Of course, you see the Oscar here and the big five companies because the only way that I can get this message through is through entertainment. Because I'm going to keep it real and I'm going to call it like it is. And let me tell you straight to the point. Commercial office space is dead. All right? And you know, it's analogous to a drive-in movie theater. And if you don't believe me, just look what happens to Sears Tower. But let me come back to that. Let's start with first NVIDIA headquarters. Look at this. You got these three big, beautiful buildings, and then you have these. Look at this, all this open space, and you have all of this triangles that were specifically designed. But what you don't realize, this is a big investment. At times requiring civil engineering to modify the land and build infrastructure to support influx of traffic to the area. In fact, when you go to the Apple, you know, this Apple Park, you even have to go to in front of city boards and things like that to create infrastructure to make it happen. And you can see here, you have this beautiful park with a lot of people. Yeah, it looks beautiful. You even have, look, people riding on bikes to work. But who? Only the locals. And you got to have a key card to have access to those parks. And even if you can get in, it's only available to locals. Commercial space is dead, and I'll say it respectfully. If you're a stockholder and you have a CEO trying to invest in this, I'm going to say, what are you really trying to do? And if they say, well, we want to create creativity, well, then why don't you create an amusement park, an NVIDIA amusement park, or an Apple a park that's kind of like Disneyland or Universal Studios, where you can invite anyone to go and participate with special discounts to friends and families. They can go in there and have rides, entertainment, and food, and interactions, and hotel accommodations so people can come from around the world and not just the locals who are in the area basically got to struggle through traffic to get in there. The commercial space is dead because we have now access to virtual reality headsets. In fact, if you're a good CEO and you're looking to generate revenue for what? Research and development. All that money spent on this could have been spent on research and development to actually allow that, because it's a growth curve, to allow the curve to actually go up even higher to get the technology in the company ahead where it would be. One can make an argument that you're not as advanced as you could be because you invested money in the wrong place. You could have invested in a place that could actually generate income, such as I suggested, creating an amusement-like park as opposed to office space. Office space is so stagnant to our economy and lowers our GDP. You can have a much more expedient, rapid meetings with people virtually. And with the VR sets now, you can even go even further, and I'll touch upon that in a second. So, this is a movie. This is a drive-in movie theater that I'm looking at. And the old may still be fooled, but the new will dread it. Look around. Everybody's glued to the phones and screens, and if they need to get out of the house, why not go to the space of your choice and have fun? Who wants to drive through traffic to get to work? More importantly, creates stagnation for economy as stated, and limits access to talent. If you want to have access to talent, they have to now relocate or be positioned there. What if you have talents in other spots and you need those talents to be able to actually have a better and faster growth of the company? Think about all, you think they're talking about all this green design of the parks and stuff, yeah? You know what I mean? Do you know how much energy it was expended to build it in the first place? And how much energy is going to take for people to actually get to and from work, and the bottleneck? How much is it going to cost us to deliver toilet paper to that area? You know, part of the hiring package should be the VR set, allowing 3D conferences, person-to-person meetings, and product visualization. Benefits are endless: ease of getting VIPs together for meetings, ease of access to global talent, improved global marketization. Access to better talent leads to more expedient technological advancement. Global marketization leads to increased growth. Companies should focus on manufacturing, research, and design. The money spent on fancy buildings took away from R&D and delayed the technological advancement and progression of the company. Negative impact on savvy stockholders. I say savvy because stock market can influence based on hype, but the savvy investors know better. It is important to mention that as we start moving more forward into the future, robotics and automation within the factory will become a norm, changing the space design and characteristics of the industrial sector as well. It is important to mention that we start moving forward into the future. Robotics and in summary, and I just want to summarize because I don't want to make this video long. Commercial office space has been known as dead. Industrial manufacturing, research, and design is soon to follow. i.e. remote controlled robotics, will take over the industrial sector as well. The only sector that will be left for human function is the residential. Longevity and quality of life will go up. Why work hard when you can work smart? Now you're thinking, wait a minute, he's jumping way too far ahead. No, I'm not. Right now, if you let's say you are the investor, whoever's watching it right now, you have money in the bank right now. And I'll say, look, we could take part of your investment, because where do you think the money came from, and build this fancy, tall looking things that looks really cool and certainly puts you on the map. Or we could take the same money, for example, and build like a Universal Studios or Disney theme that will be Apple theme park, or and Vita Park, that's going to be available to everybody with accommodations, so that people, when they arrive, there'll be pools and slides, and it'll be an event where everybody can relax and enjoy it, and actually enjoy also the history that's going to be presented of the technological advancements. And it's going to be known in the world as a place of destination to go relax and enjoy and have fun, and it will actually generate revenue. So the cost of investment is free, because instead of building the building, you're building an amusement park. You were going to waste the money anyways, but might as well put it in an area where you could actually not only get revenue, but also increase exposure. Who is going to this park? The locals and the people that work there, versus an amusement park that's going to attract worldwide. And now all of a sudden people are going to be like, oh yeah, I just came from this park, and also I got their phone with me. You can actually increase the hold of the market percentage. So I'm not saying we're going to jump in the future so far where we're going to be glued in our home with VR sets and have robots working there. I'm saying that there's better solutions than simply creating big corporate locations that are outdated. And I got to tell you, this is painful for me to say, because for me, my Toys R Us store, my toy store was like Staples. I used to go there and I used to spend hours looking at the pens, looking at the different kind of paper clips and different kind of binders and folders, and I'm thinking, oh, this would be so good with the tabs for presentations. That was what I grew up with, and that's what I love. And at some point it came to a painful realization that I'm looking at antiques. If somebody is handing you stuff with paper things and attachments, I'm like, dude, you got quality TV screens now where you can flip through it might quicker and use technology. You might be able to even do it with hand and quickly get through everything that would take you much longer. So at some point, it was painful realization, just like a drive-in movie theater, that you're looking at antiques, and you could certainly ride the hype, but then you're going to become the next Sears Tower. I strongly urge the CEOs to, at the very least, present it to the stockholders for a vote before they start pumping in money on office space. You can get so much more, like I said, with an amusement park. Your workers are working with the VR sets, and if they want to relax, there's restaurants, there's cafes, there's water slides, there's activities, there's all kinds of things that they can go in and have fun and actually see how many people from around the world are appreciating the work that they're doing, and the work that they're doing, seeing their work on display that millions of people are walking through seeing. That will increase the morale, increase the revenue, increase the international global market hold. It's a much better solution than simply respectfully creating these, so much thought that went into triangles in the roof. They're who's going to get to see. And again, I'm keeping it real, and that you have a lot of great leaders in positions making decision making, but in terms of longevity, you have to think. You have to think, where should you put the money in, and you got to understand that technology has changed a lot of things in terms of processes. People went to places because there was no way to communicate but to meet and congregate and have exchange of information. You had to, there was a time where the only way you could learn something was actually to speak directly to the professor that's responsible for it. At some point, you don't even need to speak to the professor because you have it on paper. Everything they said is there and it's peer reviewed. So if you still follow the old things, you're doing it for the appearance of doing it, but you're missing the goal. What is the goal of the company? What is the goal of the company? And I'm going to go back to the Moneyball made by the statement by that No disrespect, little chubbier guy with the glasses that nobody knows about, but we do remember Brad Pitt, and it was called Moneyball. But he said in there, you gotta ask yourself, what is the goal? Is it to buy players or is it to buy wins? What is your goal? Is it to grow the company or to build morale? Why not do both? And I already gave you examples of how to build morale and grow the company, because more money leads to better investments into research, better investments into the manufacturing. Increased manufacturing output leads to overall lower. You could offer product for lower prices, become more competitive, start taking the market. Once you take the market, you're riding the wave because people now are aware of the brand and aware of the name. It's just we're moving forward, and concepts don't change, but facts do. Concepts don't change, but facts do, and facts in this case is how we go about it. And there's a lot of this pitch, but you're kind of glued to a place, and certainly if you want to have that place, why not having an amusement park's theme, so that people can go and bring their kids and everybody else and have millions of people interacting. And if you do have a certain necessity to get people together, there's plenty of conferences where you can, people, the conference centers and things like that, where you could always have space and access to it. Or, you could always have space of get-togethers. And the thing is that technology allows us to do things a lot quicker. It takes time to get people in the same room for a meeting versus just say, hey, put on your virtual reality set at that time and you're all set to go. And you could click it and go to use the restroom and click it back on without having to disrupt the meeting, so everybody's watching you walk out of the room because you got the case of the shits. Excuse my language. You know what I mean? It's just simplified, it's smarter, and there's smart ways to go about it, and respectfully, do you want to be the next Sears Tower? There has to be a basis for investment. Commercial office space is dead, and anybody investing in commercial space is just throwing their money away, because you're better off, like I said, having a hiring packet and then entering into agreement with Apple saying, look, we have 8,000 employees or 30,000 employees. We don't want to purchase your VR set because we know you're going to be coming out with new models, but what do you have to offer us for a lease for 20,000 units, 30,000 units, and we'll keep upgrading the leases. You come up with better models, and that should be the negotiation. So when you have a hiring packet, boom, at the door comes in your VR set. Welcome to the team. Boom, and here's your tickets to the amusement park when you're ready to take your family to come enjoy. You'll have a blast at our amusement park, the modern wonder of the world. And it's like, what? That's right. And then you get to work on your VR sets, meet all the folks, and then finally go to the amusement park, actually see them in person, and have a time of your life. Anyways, I'm just keeping it real, and again, it's painful for me to say it because the office environment was so appealing. Like I said, I used to spend so much time in Staples, and I just literally look around at all the folders and tabs and how wonderful it is to present it and think about it, and it's antiques. It's obsolete. It's just no longer applicable. I want to hear your thoughts. Do you agree with me or disagree with me? Because I'd like to have an open conversation with somebody. What do you got to say? I mean, I like Apple. I like Nvidia. I think both are incredible products that I love and appreciate. And I'll tell you right now, I had a first-hand demo of the Apple VR set, and man, I almost came to tears, man, because I was literally seeing what I predicted a long time ago, and it was happening right there. And there's a lot of predictions that I made that I'm going to see another 20 to 30 years, but that VR set was very it was jaw-dropping, and it was like, wow, because all the possibilities that I've seen were just coming true in front of me. So you got to understand that I'm not in any way belittling either of the companies, because I hold the companies. They're very impressive, in both Nvidia and Apple, with great CEOs and big Of course, big applause to their hard works. I'm just saying that it's okay to look into the future, and you can still maintain and hold some of the things that we value, but in a way that's productive for the company, allowing for the company to make money, grow, stockholders to make money, and still having a whole family events that's more exciting than just a office space with high ceilings. Comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. I spoke a little bit longer than I wanted to. If anybody listened through this whole thing, as long as they did, I appreciate you. Thank you. I really want to hear what you have to say. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.